Welcome to Making MarTech, where we spotlight innovative MarTech companies and leaders who are driving growth, highlighting valuable insights and actionable strategies to stay ahead in this industry. Today, we're here with Ramsey Sweis, founder and president of Aqaba Digital. Hey, Ramsey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's awesome to have you on today.
Thank you, Himnish. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. Would you mind introducing yourself? Who are you?
Ramsey Sweis, I'm the founder of Aqaba Digital, a digital strategies company.
And what do you do?
We're a digital marketing strategies company, and our mantra is to do better and big.
And what does that mean? Can you break that down for us?
Sure. Well, not to get too philosophical on you. So there's a saying, Ernest Hemingway said it, said, there's nothing noble about being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self. So for us, we're always as good as we were yesterday and looking to improve tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's a really powerful quote. And in terms of Aqaba Digital, what exactly do you guys do?
Well, we're a data-driven digital advertising agency. And if I were to say from cradle to grave, we audit the client website,
Mhm.
make recommendations to improve the website. And why spend the money driving traffic to a website, whether it be at SEO, paid, social media, et cetera, when the website's not built to perform? So since we want to be friends for a very long time, we'll perform a very topical audit on the UX and then an internal audit of the data. And from there, we comprise a plan on how we would align the marketing with the goals and objectives of the website and how we get the website to perform as best as we can, and then ongoing optimization as we progress with our digital marketing campaigns.
Awesome. And one of the things that I noticed on your website is that you guys do OTT marketing. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes, so streaming services
Mhm.
becoming more and more popular and affordable for small, medium enterprise. And just like as you would hyper target utilizing Google, Bing, social media platforms, you have the same ability to target your demographic and geographic audience under the same auspices of digital for Google and such. So, with that being said, you have your own creatives or work with an agency like ours, and we'll create the campaign and target based on the persona or personas that we have in mind. And with that data, we're able to perform some research within these streaming platforms and then target sources such as Netflix and others like Paramount and Disney. It all depends on the target audience we're looking for. For example, if it's a business audience and you want to stream on CNBC,
Right.
right? Consumer products, if it's for children, then we target Disney.
Mhm.
So it all depends on what the goals and objectives are. And we perform our research and then we come back and we pitch the client on the concept that we have in mind. And then we get into key messaging and the actual ad or the commercial itself. And then with these platforms, we leverage the platforms to push this content on the most preferred or highly targeted time to our consumers that are processing this information in between their videos or YouTube, etc.
And you were saying that now it's becoming more affordable for these small, mid-sized businesses. So do you think that this is an emerging opportunity in the advertising space?
It is an emerging opportunity, but it's still cost restrictive to the small business
Mhm.
and the type of business. So if it's a small mom and pop coffee shop,
Right.
I highly doubt that streaming is a viable option for them. I'd recommend like Google Local, optimizing their GMB, some social media ads, and target their footprint of their business, whether it's, a 3 mile, 5 mile, 30 mile radius around their location, where streaming would be a completely different approach. And maybe their consumers are not one that would be on YouTube, for example, and then make a decision to purchase their coffee or croissant or sandwich from their local cafe or juicery.
And you guys seem to go beyond the traditional channels of advertising that we usually hear about. I mean, when I hear digital marketing agency or think social media marketing, SEO, kind of those main big three that you have in the mix, you guys take a much wider perspective to this, right?
Wide and deep. And when you peel back the marketing onion, right, you get to the core, it's all based on data and
Right.
insight. So I taught at Oakland University
Mhm.
3 years, and I was constantly thumping our instructional book and during class and stating that there's no such thing as bad data. There's good data, there's bad data, and you have to take the good, bad, and the ugly. And you leverage the good, you try to multiply that, take the bad, and try not to repeat that and minimize it, right? And then there's the unknown, and you try to uncover the unknown data that's not traceable and try to fill that gap and improve that so you can capture that data and leverage it. So you spend money on marketing and advertising, you're driving folks to your website and you can't track the data, then what's the purpose of digital marketing? Because it should be traceable, all of it.
And because of that, do you guys think that you have a strong focus on that data management aspect?
Yeah, analytics is our strong suit. Without the analytics, we don't exist. I mean,
Mhm.
we've been in the industry for 20 years, and I think since day one, we've been chasing data and trying to improve the data points, the data sets, and the limited utilities we had. I used to make reports by hand, spreadsheet, and then the cloud came about. And in the advent of the cloud, the world changed, and now we're dealing with AI. We don't know how to peel that onion, but we're trying, and that is going to revolutionize the way we do business, not just for marketing, but simple things. Everything that we do is being driven by AI, and it's only going to improve.
Yeah, no, well said. And can you tell us more about that? What are your thoughts on this AI shift that's going on?
I don't think it matters what I say or what I think because we're being steamrolled by it. So just like the internet, you had those that thought that, remember, maybe it's before your time, but MTV was the devil. Comcast was the devil, right? Cable TV was the devil, and everybody wanted it more. And that's a version of streaming. And then the internet and the advent of the internet, computers evolved. The industry blossomed overnight. Then there's the need for bandwidth, and then cell technology, and now we're 5G, and we're preparing for the next generation of wireless. Means another device adoption and transformation. And so everything we do is changing. And now you have interconnect, you have Wi-Fi on top of that. So you have Wi-Fi that speaks with your microwave, your dishwasher, your washing machine. You can open your garage door from your phone. You can let the dog out from your phone. I mean, there's so much that can be done. And I still think that we're just barely scratching the surface. So when we talk about AI, now plug in AI into all of these mediums.
Mhm.
And that's where we're headed. Driverless vehicles, medical decisions, legal, data management, infrastructure. So from person to infrastructure, person to vehicle, vehicle to person, vehicle to satellite, you're looking at AI as a layer over everything. What I am concerned with is what's happening with my AI queries and how's that data being used to influence the AI in my decision making. Is it biased? Is it unbiased? Is it politically driven? Is it religiously driven? So many questions that I have.
Mhm.
Until it's regulated by the government, it's the wild, wild west. So that's my only concern is my intellectual property, the purpose behind the use of AI. It should be personal and it should be private. And decisions should not be influenced. Decisions should be inspired.
And I think that that's a challenge that a lot of people are seeing right now is how do we balance that kind of personalization with privacy, right?
Yeah, it's the shiny little toy over here in the corner that's catching everyone's eye, and it's great, and you can't avoid it. It's everywhere, and
Mhm.
the sky is falling, and Skynet is going to take over the world, and yada yada. And that's great. I'm glad that there's concern. I'm glad that there's hype over the fear of the computers taking over the world, and it should be. But I have concerns with the government making those decisions, but I also have concerns with the lack of governance
Mhm.
the use of AI. And so we're at the fate of the politicians and the lobbyists that influence, as we know, and then also big tech on what their end game is really.
So, how are you guys integrating AI into your business with this shift?
It's never ending. I mean, we use it for workflow automation. We implement it for clients to
Mhm.
simplify their tasks. And if you were to carve out small business away from medium and enterprise, we're not really geared or tooled to support enterprise because we're small and we're not an AI only agency either. So our experience and understanding of AI will be shadowed by the behemoths that are targeting enterprise only. So for us, if I can simplify a company's day-to-day tasks and save them money and improve their workflows and the output of their employees and be a virtual assistant that is working 24/7, then there's tremendous value in that, especially for a small company like ourselves. I'll give you an example. Someone visits our website, that data is collected, scraped, is published into a database. Database is then parsed. AI is making real-time decisions on qualifying that data. What does it mean to us? How does it affect our bottom line? Are they qualified? If they're not qualified, what do we do with it? If they're qualified, what do we do with it? These decisions are being made in real time. The, we'll call it very archaic method. The prehistoric method is I have to log into my GA POS system, my email marketing platform, call up the data, have to find it. I have to wear like an analyst hat, a business analyst hat, and a data analyst hat, and say, okay, so what does this data mean? Okay, I see the data, I see all the modeling, I see the data points and the data sets, and it crystallizes into the form of a following outcome that I have. And that's purpose for me. And then what do I do with it? So I have to put on my business analyst hat. How does this affect my business? What am I supposed to do? That's where we come into play. But that's a workflow that's manual. It requires a certain skill set, which we have, I'm proud to say, but I have to hire multiple resources that are skilled and train them and risk losing them and start the cycle all over again, train the next person. And then AI comes into play and says, I'll take the same data, I'll parse it, I'll create a database. You tell me what you want to do with it, and then I'll do it.
So where do you feel is the biggest hole for you that AI can fill? Because I know you've said a lot about how it can really help streamline processes for you, but where do you feel that need lies?
Well, it's not so much the need, it's understanding my business.
Hmm.
If you understand your business and you're not caught up in the task, I always use the analogy, a folkloric story about the shoemaker, the shoemaker's kids. Shoemaker's busy cobbling shoes for the entire village, but his kids are running around the village shoeless because he's so busy. If I were to hire someone, it would be a virtual assistant who I can then train to offload the mundane tasks that don't require high level input. Still meaningful, and it's very important to my business. If it's important to my business, it's important to my clients, first and foremost. But now I have someone that will roll this information up to me in a summarized form, and it can be a low cost person that's using an acceptable subscription fee to an AI, which I've trained, that's going to take this data and manage it. And my VA is going to help me with communications, with the summary reports and things that I need to make critical decisions. Call it critical thinking. It allows me to spend more time in the critical thinking mode for my business and for my clients. And I consider myself to be a senior architect. And to do that, I need clarity.
Right.
The shoemaker's kids, right? So to have clarity for an hour is a challenge
Hmm.
because we're super busy, we're in demand. Our clients demand us too. They demand a lot of time and require a lot of time and care. And that tells us, okay, so who's your clientele? The independent creamery down the road will benefit greatly from partnering with us because of our business acumen and our data and our ability to also have the right creative and the key messaging and the right folks behind those decisions, right? So for me, okay, I'm trying to wear as many hats as possible and at an optimal pace that will position me as an industry leader within our geographic region. And to do that, you got to be on and you have to do a lot and you have to give a lot. So something like AI in our repertoire will really make a difference and enhance the way we operate and improve our operations and also assist our team in making decisions more clearly in a shorter period of time
Hmm.
and then personalize it. We still want things done our way with our touch on it, right? We want our flavor, but it really is a utility more than it is a replacement of a hired professional. We're not looking to cut back on members of our team. We're looking to grow, actually. And to grow, we need to be the best. To charge our premium rates, we need to be the best. If I want to pull my agency away and position it above our competition who's falling, they're falling by the wayside left and right. They're dropping left and right. They're slow to react, evolve or die, right? They're doing websites and they're chasing the next deal and they don't really understand the marketplace the way they should because they're not data analysts and they're not business analysts. They're web designers and marketers that look past the data. And I would highly weight those two skill sets.
Yeah, no, I noticed you guys have a very data-driven approach in all that you do. So far, everything you've said today, you've had a really strong theme of just focusing on the data, utilizing the data, and just using it to optimize, optimize, optimize for the best.
How else do you optimize? How else do you optimize? On what basis? What data?
I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. We do the same thing. Our focus is all data driven. But with this approach, I'd also like to know what have some of your biggest recent successes been?
Boy, I could tell you probably one of the most exhilarating experiences I've had in my career is working on a campaign for the World Cup 2022 cutter.
Really?
Yeah.
And how'd that go?
Well, I'll tell you why we were chosen over the 27 agencies globally that they courted. It's a UK-based company, publicly traded company called TravelX. I have the case study on our website. And when we pitched them, the idea we had was they came to us and said, hey, well, here's the RFP. I took the RFP and basically scrapped it and said, no, I'm not going to be told how to do my job. This is what we're recommending. So what we did is we contacted the Ministry of Tourism to Dubai, Ministry of Tourism, Saudi Arabia, and also to Qatar. These are neighboring regions to Qatar.
Right.
There's a lot, and they anticipated a lot of travel, tourism, buses, independents driving across the border as they ramped up for the World Cup final in Qatar. So you have, I think it was 16 teams in the tournament. And what we did is we recommended what better target audience than attendees to each match. So if you have Argentina versus Brazil, then we're targeting the international airports in Buenos Aires
Mm-hmm.
and Sao Paulo, Brazil. And anyone with a mobile device
Mm-hmm.
crosses a geofence that we articulate around those landmarks, the airports, and the local stadiums,
Mm-hmm.
seeing our TravelX ads. And then it gets deep.
Okay.
And then from there, as each round it tapers down, we reallocate the budget.
Mm-hmm.
We had a retargeting campaign
Mm-hmm.
that follows you till 30 days after the World Cup, the final match.
Mm-hmm.
So each tier down to the championship game, all the airports, all of the venues, the stadiums, and that's it. Like we didn't spend money on ads anyplace else. It was irrelevant. So with the insights, we also set up tripwires for these geofencing campaigns at the borders of the countries I had mentioned. So when they cross over, you also start seeing their ads. And what TravelX is, it's a foreign exchange for all of these international travelers. And at each region, TravelX has kiosks, and even on the ground in Qatar, they had kiosks. So we said, okay, let's build a website because corporate wouldn't allow us access to the corporate branded website for that region. So we recommended a quick down and dirty website, which we built an amazing website, and it had walk paths and it had map locations, each region, each venue where their kiosks were. And they launched this product. They productized the card specifically for this event and coined the phrase. And from there, we built this website. We promoted
Mm-hmm.
the website and how you can get this foreign currency exchange card. And it allows you to purchase and convert your currency wherever you're at into that local currency.
Mm-hmm.
And then on your exit back to your country, you would be refunded whatever is left behind. Those funds would get converted at no charge. So why did they do that?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't really looking to profit as much as they would normally. They looked at it as a global campaign, event-based marketing that will get them worldly exposure for all international travelers. And they get to keep this card, which is top of mind, right? And hopes for perpetuity for international travels. And that's how they got their global name out in a very short period of time, and they distributed thousands of cards.
No,
So that
that's
that was one campaign, and we were looking at the data, like we had our dashboards up and just lit up like a Christmas tree, and we're watching all these events take place. And then were involved very deeply. Our client was based in Dubai, and we were getting feedback in real time on what was happening, what was not happening, making our adjustments. So it was like being in a NASA launch room,
mhm.
right? And countdown from 10 to 0. And we were right there in the war room. It was awesome. Great experience for my team. I was so excited for them. And this is a great experience. So that's one campaign, one project that truly proud of and really, really happy that we were able to help them out. So they chose us over the rest of the folks that just replied to the RFP in closing and decided to choose Aqaba Digital as their strategic partner because of our unorthodox approach and resistance to conform to this box that they handed us and expected us to fit in, which obviously we did not fit in that box for good reason.
That's honestly, that's amazing. That's a very, very unique approach. I'm not gonna lie, when I asked you that question, out of all the things I was expecting you to say, that was not it.
What were you expecting, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, I mean, what I was expecting was, the traditional, we worked with a B2B company and we were able to go and help them bring up their sales by, 20%.
Yeah, 10x their revenue by this and
Yeah,
that. No, that's not
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, this was so much better. Now, Ramsey, one thing I like to say, right, is success is like a two-sided coin, where on this one side you have success, but then when you flip that over, there's also some challenges that come paired with that success, right? So, in your opinion, what are some of the biggest challenges you've been facing recently?
well, there's one that comes to mind,
Hmm.
and it really keeps me up at night sometimes because I keep looking at could have done better. I should have done these things. We lost an account, and that stings because we don't do small stuff.
Hmm.
We're not for very small business. Because of our process, it requires a lot of resource, skilled talent,
Hmm.
time, and that equates to budgetary resistance from the small business, right? So we're best leveraged for mid-market is really our sweet spot. And we do some enterprise, not as frequent as we'd like. And in this case, this was a mid-market client. I knew them personally, and I had my name on it. And the campaign performed quite well. And I mean, I can verse it bit by bit if you'd like, because it's in my head, right? But I'll summarize it in short. We came up with an unorthodox way to book very personal interactions. It's fintech, retirement stuff. So it's very personal. And customers don't just change their cell phone carrier because they had a drop call one night. And it's a long term thing, right? Very little churn. So they were getting the leads. And where we failed is we assumed that they were sophisticated enough have a sales process in place. They did not. We got lots of pushback. We had a longer than necessary onboarding process.
Hmm.
It very, very difficult. They were extremely difficult to work with. And this client had no real CRM. They had no sales process in place. We assumed that they did because of who they are and as big as they were. They were not sophisticated and they failed miserably and they pointed fingers and just dodged us and always busy. I got so upset toward the end.
Hmm.
My biggest mistake is, and for what it's worth, I offered it for free, but it was conditional.
Hmm.
Get out of my way. Let me make the sales calls that I booked for you, and I'll book it into your calendar and schedule it, and you close the deal.
Hmm.
And I did the very first one. The next day they agreed,
Hmm.
just to prove them wrong, because they kept saying, we're not getting any leads. We're spending too much time. You're not getting us quality leads.
Hmm.
Right? We did. So I rolled up my sleeves. I hit the phones. As soon as they hit the website, I received the notice. I'm on the phone booking a one-on-one to understand why they need financial services.
Hmm.
And then documenting it myself. I refused to let anyone else touch it because I didn't want anyone else's name on it. If things go awry, it's me, not my team, and they don't feel bad and they don't take the guilt, right? I did it. And I documented everything. I called the CEO and I said, your partner did not perform. You're not well equipped. You should have had the following things in place, and here's why. Here's what I've proven. And what do you want to do about it? Do you want to continue? The very next day, she sent an email. They terminated the service. They obviously could not come to an agreement on admitting and just never did marketing again. That's ego.
And that's, I feel like at that point is like, how much can you really do? Right? Because at this point, you demonstrated it to them too.
How much are you willing to do?
Mhm.
The person didn't want to make sales calls. They sent an email, and if they don't get a reply, it's a bad lead. It's not qualified. Okay, the first one, the second one, the third. 47 high ticket leads in a couple of months based on their ad spend and our management fee. Yeah, the opportunity was there. Prove that our concept worked, which again, unorthodox. Now, I can't share with you the process, but it was unorthodox, but it worked.
I love your approach to things. The way you take everything in such an unorthodox way, I think is really just, it's just that, right? It's unorthodox, it's unique. And I think it sets you apart. It's great.
There's so much out there to
Mhm.
leverage. And again, if you submit an RFP, and I get these very unsophisticated RFPs, and I don't participate, I decline. Then I get a phone call, and the person's angry, and they're like, why aren't you participating? Why'd you decline? Because I had to formally decline. We're in the governmental system. And I tell them why, and they don't want to hear it. I'm like, that's why I would decline. You can't just tell me a 25-page website. Does it integrate with any web sources? Or do you have APIs? If you do, what are the APIs? What are the requirements? I can't just submit a 25-page website, or for a municipality, several hundred pages. You have ADA compliance, you have security, cybersecurity insurance that we have to comply with. There's all types of things that are overlooked. And if you want a $5,000 website, then by all means, there are people out there that will do it. And you'll get a $5,000 website.
Yeah, no, that's, you said a lot today. You know, you brought a very unique perspective to the show in both your background, the things you do, and your company's approach to it, right? And I thought that that was great to have on. At the end of every episode, I like to ask everyone the same question, and it's to deviate from the serious business related stuff, go a bit broad, go a bit more personal.
Sure. Shoot.
Sometimes this catches some people out of left field after what we've been talking about, but what is the most overrated piece of advice you've encountered recently?
Overrated piece of advice?
Uh-huh.
You're unorthodox. The most overrated piece of advice, I'd have to say, don't give up. It's so cliche.
Mhm. What do you mean?
Your alpha males and females, it's an innate attribute.
Mhm.
They don't even know the definition of quit or give up. They don't. They just do what they do.
Mhm.
So to say never give up, I mean, okay, then what? I think that statement is overrated. And let me dovetail this into it. Are you familiar with Moore's Law?
I'm not. No. What's that?
You'll have to look it up. In summary, in short, there's a gentleman by the name of Gordon Moore. And Moore's Law is not a law of nature. What goes up must come down. Einstein's theory of relativity. It has nothing to do with that. It's a technology based observation. And what it says is there's a cycle in technology. And I believe it's dated back to 1965, year I was born. And basically, what he says is it's a trend of physics that's driven by a technology cycle. And that cycle is 2 years. So, for example, a PC chip, a microprocessor, that's basically hardware side, right? So hardware, generationally speaking, evolves every 2 years. So that philosophy can be applied to anything, but that's the basis of Moore's Law. So I believe it was in January of 2025 at the CES show.
Mhm.
Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA,
Right.
stated that their systems are progressing much faster than the theory of Moore's law. And my takeaway on that is AI, the very same technology, the foundation of AI requires a hyperprocessor. To progress, you layer this synthetic brain
Mhm.
to accelerate the production and use of the hardware that allows the brain to scale. And its computing power will allow it to process more data in a faster cycle and puts Moore's law to sleep. So you asked me earlier about my competitors and how I'm positioning of myself. And I've seen these agencies come and go, and they did things that to this day, back in the day when they were building Flash websites, I could never deliver those types of products because I didn't have the skill set. Looking back, thank God I didn't, because they came and they went. I was focused at data and making decisions based on data, not some cool design, some cool .com name. And we all know the .com bubble and how that panned out for those creative types, right? So Moore's law, that's been around since 1965,
Mhm.
has now been put to bed due to the advent of AI. And AI is developing the technology, the very same technology that the AI resides on. This is where we're at today. It's an amazing time to be in.
It really is. That's a really interesting concept. And I think an interesting thing to leave off on, to let the audience think about.
Yeah, it's deep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, with that, Ramsey, thanks for coming on.
Man, Himnish, I really enjoyed this. Thank you. I want to wish you nothing but the best of success. Stay on your path, right? Don't
Mhm.
look back. Look outside your windshield. Don't look in the rearview mirror, man. You're going to go places.
Thank you, Ramsey. And likewise for you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. As we end today's episode of Making MarTech, we'd like to thank all our listeners. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share this and subscribe to our show so you don't miss the next one. I'm your host, Himnish Jindal, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.